guys are an important set of voices, and I'm here to basically thank you for having those voices and getting them out. And I'm happy to debate our view, your ideas. I want to hear what you care about, and I particularly want to understand what Google can do to make your world better, more effective, better reach, and more interesting. So with that, who would like to start? Any question, any subject? Yes, sir.
I've talked to a number of people, especially in your Washington, D.C. office. I've attended various workshops that your staff has provided for bloggers and things like that. And I have gotten the sense, one of the problems is when I go to these events, I'm the only conservative. It seems like a lot of the left is...
Thank you for going.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's a great opportunity, but I would just want to say I'd like to appreciate the fact that some of your staff is realizing this,
yeah.
and that they know they have to reach out more to the right, because I mean right now we're still in a 50-50 kind of electorate. So
no, but it doesn't matter what percentage is. What matters is that the voices have to be heard.
I agree, and so I'm just wondering, is that kind of a sense you have that Google itself isn't doing enough to reach out to the right side?
Well, first place, that's partly why we're spending so much money here, and time and people. We have quite the operation, and people. The world is a better place when you know people. People call you, you get the feedback, you figure out what their problems are. So absolutely, one of the important things to know about Google is we do not do content. You do the content, and we index and search it. So we're incredibly dependent upon quality content. So we don't care about numbers, we care about quality. So I think, when you walk into a room and you're that voice, it just makes it even more challenging for you. You just have to beat them in terms of quality and content and arguing. And I think that's how the web works. It's a great thing. Yes, sir.
Dr. Trevino, quick question for you. I actually just finished a gig working with the Harlan Institute on their telecom newsletter. And one thing that we know for those of us who work on policy from a free market and with a very conservative perspective is that Google is frequently on the other side. Google frequently takes policy positions that are pro-regulation of the internet, especially in the so-called net neutrality space. And I guess what I want to know, first off, is why do you find Google so much on the other side on so many of these policy issues? And hang on.
If you could be precise, just be precise as to the point.
With all that Google is doing, space travel, new browsers, etc., when are we going to see Google getting involved in helping maintain and extend the competitive environment that led to Google's rise in the first place?
Again, if you could be precise as to the statements on policy. Net neutrality, I understand. Are there other ones?
I'm just going to stick with net neutrality because that's the big one.
No, that's fine. I just want to make sure that I want to make sure I knew what the universe of the question was. The easiest way to understand our net neutrality position is to imagine a scenario where your internet provider has a politically different view than you do. And I don't know if that's possible or likely or unlikely. Everybody here has maybe different choices, maybe similar choices. We're very, very concerned that we construct a separation between the people who run the pipes and the people who put stuff on the pipes. This is our view. You may disagree with that, and I certainly respect your view on that. But the fact of the matter is that a situation where that separation does not exist is a problem, because it allows corporations, for example, to censor speech of one kind or another, which is clearly bad. It's just not a good situation.
So, large capitalized corporations in America taking a over position?
Yes. So, no, I'm happy to debate this precisely. But the scenario I want you to think through is in a situation where, let's say, for example, the company that was the provider of your internet service disagreed with you in such a way that they disadvantaged you. It's not a good situation. Now, that could occur with speech, which would be very bad. It can also occur with applications. So, for example, you get vertically integrated corporations where they own everything. Now, again, you may take there's an extreme, shouldn't characterize it. There is a view of corporations that any size corporation and any level of integration is good. So the sort of the bigness is always better kind of an argument. I disagree with that. So this particular case, we believe that there is an appropriate level of government regulation which consists of maintaining that separation. Having said that,
Maintaining that separation.
a separation between essentially transit and content.
Google itself, though, has tried to integrate both of those with its net neutrality deal, with meeting Wi-Fi deals in places like San Francisco.
Again, let's do these in order.
Well, I mean, that's,
No,
that is in order for the point that you raised.
No, please, ask it as this next question. Let me just give you the one counter. Let me give you one more data point. Our position has been argued on other people in ways that we don't agree with. So, for example, people will say Google is in favor of this or that. In fact, for example, with the telecom providers, we understand that telecom providers have infinite demand for a finite resource. So we're not arguing over, for example, differential quality of service. We just want them within a particular band, say video, not to favor one video over another. And that's the subtlety. I'm sorry, ask your next question.
It's not a question, I'm afraid you counter example.
No, go
Google
ahead.
itself has engaged in infrastructure implementation in cities like San Francisco that allies very separation that you're arguing towards there.
Actually, I disagree with you there on as well. In the Wi-Fi case in San Francisco, the one router and the two guys who set it up, who then caused all those other companies to invest in San Francisco free Wi-Fi, which never happened. Not a bad policy.
Well, the fact that it never happened had everything to do with FirstLink going out, not Google.
No, but one of our goals was to get corporations to take their money rather than the city's money to make free Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Sure, back there.
Okay, go ahead. Yes,
Hi,
sir.
Michael Bates from baseline.com. First of all, I want to say thanks because without Google, I could not do what I do and find the information I can find. But in your discussion of separating the pipes from the content providers in a situation where a provider may be politically at odds with the people who are trying to use that provider to gather information, I couldn't help but think of the situation in the People's Republic of China. I wonder if you could address Google's stance toward the Chinese government's filtering of content.
This one was a hard one, and with all due respect to your questions, those are straightforward ones for us. This was a hard one. Let me tell you a little bit about how China works. China is a dictatorship, and they have a firewall called the Great Firewall, which is a censorship model. That is pretty evil by any definition. So we face the following choice. If we did not follow the law in China, the firewall would have shut down access to Google, period, and was doing so. To follow the law meant putting in a trigger, essentially, that for certain keywords, an example is Falun Gong, we omit the result. So we debated, and the company was split half and half. We ultimately decided it was better to engage, and when we show one of those, we actually publish a citation saying, in Chinese, "Dear Chinese citizen, the government has forced us to remove this information." Now, I don't know what really happens, but the Chinese people that I know are incredibly smart, and I think it's a reasonable assumption when they see that, they then use probably illegal means to go get that information. We're proud of this in a compromise sense because after doing this for a year, the local competitors, Baidu in particular, have now been forced to do that as well. So it's a small victory for free speech. The alternative, and the reason this was such a hard decision for Google, is that we would have been completely frozen out of the market because of this Great Firewall. So part of the reason that I gave you such a strong answer, and I feel strongly about it, is that when institutions start screwing around with routers and preferences and firewalls and censorship, really bad stuff starts happening. And often it's insidious. One of the issues in China, having been there a lot, is the average Chinese citizen sort of is okay because they don't really have the other voices. And I think it's important to have those voices. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Matt Sheffield from Newsbusters. Can you talk a little bit about how Google seems to vastly give enormous amounts of money to left-wing operations, basically none to conservative operations, and then also in terms of the political donations that Google employees, especially your colleagues at the top, who give overwhelmingly to Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah.
How can we as conservatives perceive Google as an objective entity when there's this clear, obvious disparity?
A good question. We have a PAC. The PAC is split 50-50. And so again, that's all public information. You can inspect that. So as a corporation, we made a decision to create a PAC, which is in and of itself